Well, here's an electric idea. You just heard us talking about how the national average for gas right now is at a new level, $3.07 a gallon. Well, with no relief in sight, one high school teacher in Pennsylvania is using this to teach students about other means of alternative fuel. Thanks to one man's love of cars, Methacton High School is taking education out of the classroom and onto the road.
I think, just informally, I put together a list. I think I put approximately 250 to 300 hours into the assembly of this car. And I didn't pay myself. I know it looks a little confusing, but really it's quite simple. This car is powered by an electric motor. It's a three-phase AC motor, similar to what drives, machinery in a machine shop and so on. This is the motor here. It has a peak output of approximately 50 horsepower. It gets its power from 17 12-volt batteries that are in series, so it has a total of 204 volts that run through the infamous black box, which is the controller that's connected to the throttle, and when the throttle's depressed, it translates the energy in the batteries to the motor and drives the car. The batteries, there are 17 of them, as I mentioned. They are spread throughout the car to get a proper balance because the weight of the batteries is quite significant. The car itself weighs about 2,100 pounds, and over 900 pounds of that is just the batteries.
I went to a conference on how to make your school green, and I thought, what a neat concept to do rooftop gardens or to think about different ways that I could use that in my classroom. John, who you met earlier, he had a billboard up that said, "I come to classrooms." I'm like, wow, that's all I needed. So we started talking, and he showed me through the electric car. A month later, he came to my AP environmental class. Then he said he was considering putting it up and donating it. So he put it out to who was interested, and it turned out it was between us and Temple University's School of Engineering, and we kind of both lobbied, and we were fortunate enough he donated the car, and so we formed the club once we got the car. And membership's continually growing, and our goal of the club, we say, is to educate each individual one car at a time.
Well, you still got pretty much like an ignition with the key that you got to turn on, and that'll give you your power supply. And then you have your control here for forward and reverse that you just switch, and right now it's in the off position pointing up, and you have a dial here for the amount of power you use. You have like if you want to use maybe very little amps, or you can max to use all your power at once. You turn, you'll hear a click. Do you hear that little click? And you might hear a little buzzing sound afterward. That means the car is on. Basically, you can't drive this car like any other car. If you do, you more than likely will flip it. That is the amount of volts I have left. I have like 204, which is pretty much max. Slowing down part is a tricky part. Because I noticed things the first 2 times I drove it with my teacher, I didn't brake soon enough. You gotta slow down. You gotta give yourself a lot of space, especially with this car. A lot more than you normally would with a regular one. If you drive like normal road speeds, you could probably get about, I'd say, estimate 60, 70 miles, which is it's not bad. It's a great experience to learn about different cars, like how our society is kind of advancing.
I give examples in class of do you leave the water running the whole time when you're brushing your teeth? And we show how much energy you waste, and just changing light bulbs from incandescent to fluorescent. And then they start to see that they can make a difference in their own house. And then when they start driving a car, now it's a whole new difference because now they're starting to pay for it. The car itself, you can see it turns heads, and at red lights, people will ask, "Hey, what is that?" And then you start talking, and all of a sudden, you're educating people even at red lights.
The best part actually is getting the kids involved and seeing people, start to appreciate that there are alternate ways of doing things. And
it's real interesting. I've always loved cars. I don't know. One day I could see me driving one of them. I'm still a fan of the muscle per se, but one day.
See, I don't know, but I'm just thinking here. I'd give those students an A. I think they get an A for that class. Big story in a small town is coming up next, and we're going to talk to the nation.